Welcome back to Ox Tools. I'm Tom. So we got a batch of meatloaf here for you. Some interesting stuff. We got an announcement about the Summer Bash, which is our YouTube event down in Southern California. That's coming up pretty soon. I got some eBay purchases, garage sale items. Did a little horse trading with a guy online. Some kind of interesting stuff. A little bit of everything, you know, the usual meatloaf. But let's start out with the announcement. We got the Bar-Z Summer Bash, which is next weekend, which is the 23rd of May, or excuse me, June 23rd. And it's in Rancho Cucamonga, California, which is down near Los Angeles, Pasadena area. There's still slots open. I didn't know this, and Stan told me. There's a link in the description if you want to, if you live in that area or you want to travel and meet some YouTube creators and a bunch of fellow viewers. And we got prizes, raffles, challenges, all kinds of really neat stuff. It's a very popular event, and anyway, apparently there's still some slots open for it, according to Stan. So anyway, check out the link and contact Stan, and he can tell you how to sign up for it and get a ticket. Okay. Anyway, oh, I got a Craigslist thing too. So anyway, let's go look at some cool stuff. All right, so we got some garage sale finds here. Actually, you know what? I haven't even opened this yet. Let's take a look at that. Let me drag it over here. So, probably some construction dude, right? That's what I'm thinking, but I think this was a construction dude that hadn't bought this stuff himself, so he didn't really have a good idea what things were worth. So, not that I need one of these, but there it is. And I just opened the box. I don't think this thing's ever been used. So these are these kind of dynamic braking fall protection deals. And I don't know. I think everybody these days in the construction industry has their own, and they kind of maintain it and keep track of it. And then here's I think this is this is like the little shock absorbing lanyard. Once again, not used, okay? I gotta believe these things are a couple $100. Yeah, I don't know, I haven't looked it up yet. So then he had this 300-foot tape measure. Not that I need a 300-foot tape measure, but I have a very good friend of mine that is in the construction industry, and he probably already has one of these, but guess what? He's gonna get another one, and then this one I'll just keep. So this is the first thing I picked up, and I said, oh, okay, you know, what do you want for that, right? And I think I had these two things here, and the guy said $5, and I went, okay. So then I looked a little harder. What else? I got something else there. What's the other thing I got? I thought there was a third. I can't remember now. So anyway, this was $20 for all this. $20 bill did this. So and right. So to me, that's somebody that hadn't bought this stuff themselves. And so I think what it was, there was a rental property, and somebody left a bunch of stuff behind, and these were the landlords or the owners or whatever, and they were clearing stuff out. So some poor construction guy is missing some fairly expensive goodies here, or maybe the company supplied them, I don't know what. But anyway, garage sale item, and you know, I don't know what I'm going to do with this stuff. What am I going to do with this? But $20, right? I mean, you see why I have so much stuff? It just falls out of the sky, literally, right? And, you know, if you have a spare $20 bill, wouldn't you have bought this? I think I would have. I mean, I would have almost paid $20 for that, right? I don't have a 35-foot big wide blade tape measure, so anyway, I think it was a good value. All right, this next one's kind of weird. These were sent to me by a friend of mine, Pete Ferguson, back in Michigan. Anyway, he sent it to me with this cryptic note. He says, see if you can figure out the puzzle. Because he'd watched one of my recent video, or a recent video of mine, and saw what I was using, and sent along this helpful riddle for me to solve. Well, anyway, at the time that he showed up, I was like, okay. I thought about it for about 30 seconds, or maybe less than that, and I said, I don't know what he's talking about. And so I set him aside. Anyway, he finally, the curiosity got the better of him. So he said, "Oh, did you figure it out? Did you figure it out?" And I sent him, I don't know, probably a pretty weak answer. And so then he told me, and then I was like, "Oh, that's actually a really good idea." So what it is, and to further cryptify the puzzle, he says, "Oh yeah, one's inch and one's metric, right? So this is just, polyurethane airline, right?" And he says, "Yeah, one is inch and one is metric, right?" And I can't tell which is which, right? And okay, this is the metric one, and this is the inch one, okay? And so anyway, that further confused me. So, but anyway, what he was looking at is he was looking at these things that I've had for, I don't know, 1,000 years or whatever, and because I'm old, and I've shown these before. And these are what I keep a set of nuts on a wire to check threads, when you got to do a quick threading job or whatever. But the idea is that you got this lame-o thing here, right? Well, now you can get all fancy here and slide your nuts on a hose, right? Slide your nuts on a hose. So let's see. I'm just going to do one here because this is not a great use of video time, right? Shoving nuts onto a hose. Actually, that one's not going to fit. Hey, what do I do now? Boop, 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 boop. All right. Anyway, so that's the general idea. And he says, some of the plant mechanics actually put combination wrenches and stuff on these too, and they actually hold pretty good, but they release easily. So it's actually a really good idea if you got something that you want to kind of link together and not lose track of, and maybe even keep it in order. So anyway, Pete, thanks a lot for the riddle of steel, and providing a pretty cool solution to a problem that probably most people have something similar to. All right, so this next one is fitting for today, I suppose. So it's Father's Day, 2018. So what is it, June 17th? Is that right? Yeah, June 17th. Okay. Anyway, happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. And if my dad happens to be watching this, happy Father's Day to you too. So I was going to tell a little story about my dad and the frustrations of having a son that snooped around your workshop. So that's the story. So the story revolves around this. This is a hard Arkansas stone, and in particular, it's a black. They sometimes call these surgical black or black hard Arkansas stone. Super, super, super fine. Okay. Anyway, I guess this belonged to his dad, my grandfather, and who was a doctor and a surgeon, and had this for, I don't know, sharpening tools, I guess, or something. I don't know quite. I can't believe they would sharpen scalpel blades or whatever, or anything like that. But anyway, my grandfather had this. My dad got it, and now I have it. So it's kind of a hand-me-down, so to speak. But it didn't used to look like this. It used to be perfect before I found it. And I don't quite remember how it kind of went down, but how it went down was I somehow chipped this, I caused one of these fractures inadvertently. And I either bumped this or hit it with something, and a piece blew off. And I was fascinated by the fracture, how it that I didn't hit it very hard, and it kind of popped off. So in my infinite curiosity, I decided to try it again. So I distinctly remember hitting this with a hammer and having a piece blow off. Now, what's interesting is I do a little flint knapping occasionally, and this is called a conchoidal fracture here, and it's when you have a glassy material, amorphous material like this, it fractures in a particular pattern, right? So now I didn't know that at the time, and I certainly didn't appreciate it, and I don't think my dad appreciated the fracture patterns in this. He was just pissed. So the story goes, he was very upset, and I distinctly remember that part, and he was furious, in fact, and then fast forward many years later to my 21st birthday, and I get a gift box, and in the gift box is this and another item that in my curiosity I had inadvertently damaged, which was an old straight razor that he had. So he gave me that too as a gift. So that's the kind of guy my dad is. He appreciates a good joke, and so now I have this, and I actually still use it, and it's super fine. And I've since bought another one, and they're actually hard to find on eBay. They go for a lot of money, and you know I bought this one, and I actually lapped this one super flat here too, just as an experiment. You know, to use these as a precision flat stone. And by the way, these don't work very good as precision flat stone. You need something that has pores in it, little pores. But anyway, this is basically optically flat now, but it's the same thing. And this is a Norton hard Arkansas oil stone is how it's listed. And this is a cute shape. It's like a little 1, 2, 3 block. So anyway, Dad, if you're watching, happy Father's Day. And if you want this one, I'll give you this one if you can use one, because I'm keeping this one. So this next one is an eBay find, and sorry if any of you guys out there watching this video were bidding on this too. Anyway, it's still sold for an excellent price for what this is. So this was on eBay recently, and it was listed as a triangular surface plate, and it was laying down on its side. But as soon as I saw that, I kind of knew what it was. This is a Granite Master Square is what this is. And it has this surface finish, and I believe this surface. I haven't checked that surface yet to see. And I'm still playing around with it. It was very dirty and I cleaned it up, but it seemed to be pretty good. It seems to agree with all my other stuff here. And this is nice because it's 18 inches, it's 18 by 9, so I can test the full range of this comparator. And there'll be more on that later, testing this device here. So and that's what this little setup's about. I'm kind of checking it at different quadrants, and so I got all my different squares out to kind of see what this thing's how it's performing. So anyway, this is an eBay find. It was $350 plus some shipping, right? So these things are, they're $1,000 new, or $700 or $800 at least. So I figure, half price if it's something I want is a reasonable grab. So it wasn't a buy it now, it was an auction, so I actually had to compete, and like I said, I apologize if I bumped some folks off of that, hey, it's an auction. So anyway, eBay find, Ron Granite, that's one of my search terms, so I'm sharing that with you guys. These guys are kind of an old school granite manufacturer. well, not manufacturer, but granite processor. So I don't think they're still in business. I think they've been absorbed by Starrett or somebody else, and but I'm not positive. So anyway, good name to remember. All right, this next one's kind of a organizational item, right? So it's always a constant kind of reorganization going on, and you know, as you get more things and whatnot. And what it is these totes here, and I think I've shown these before. And I had some more. I had some more made recently. This is what they look like. So it's just formed sheet metal, and these particular ones were laser cut here by a fab outfit in my area. Unfortunately, I don't think I can recommend them, but it's a simple sheet metal forming job, so almost any forming shop can do this. I just didn't have a what I would call a satisfying retail experience. Let's just leave it at that. But anyway, this is the general idea. It protects your wheels, and so you can see them all. You can remove these and take them over to the machine if you want. You can see everything, and everything's reasonably protected, and they fit into drawers. Now I had this kind of economy of scale thing. I only needed about 5 or 6 myself, but I had 20 made, so I'll probably drag some down to the bash and do some horse trading with them down there, and if people are interested in them. So anyway, grinder wheel totes. They're made out of 1/8" aluminum. Slots are 3/4 wide, and then they sit on the hubs, so the wheel doesn't really touch anything. So it's just kind of suspended in space in a very comfortable arrangement. Okay, so grinder wheel totes. All right, this next one is kind of a random eBay find. And what it is it's another one of these, but this is one that I've shown on, I think I showed this on camera before. This is a Pratt and Whitney Toolmakers flat, okay? And so I got this off eBay a couple years ago, and it looked like this. So that was kind of the surface on the other side. I haven't lapped this side yet, but even with all this pitting and whatnot, actually most of these it's just staining really. There are some small pits that I can just barely feel. This thing is still extremely flat, okay? I mean optically flat, like a gauge block. And that's the idea behind these is what you do is you actually you ring gauge blocks to this and make precision stacks, and you can do comparative things on a very small area that is much flatter than a surface plate, for example. So anyway, so this is the side that I relapped, and I didn't go as far as I could have. I really didn't want to take out the Pratt and Whitney markings here, you know, and I would have had, you know, so this one I reground it and then lapped it, and there's still just a faint, I don't know if you can see it here, there's just a faint little mark left from the corrosion that was on that. But this one, this is the original box too, and this one's in considerably better shape, and that's what they look like. Now this one, interesting, I don't know if this is a later or an earlier one or whatever. It didn't have the markings on the face. It has them on the side, okay? And then this one's in pretty good shape on both sides. And I checked it with an optical flat, and it's pretty good. It's excellent actually. So I don't know, I may do just a little bit on this one just to tune it up. Now this one was listed as, and I just put these in there to keep it from rattling in the box. This one was listed as a, how was it listed? It wasn't listed as a Toolmakers flat. It was listed as a Pratt and Whitney plate or Pratt and Whitney disc, or, you know, something kind of not what it really is, right? And so once again, I'm sharing some of my eBay tricks with you guys. use some of those variations if you're looking for things, because not everybody knows that this is a Precision Toolmakers flat, right? They just see the Pratt and Whitney and they go, oh, Pratt and Whitney plate or Pratt and Whitney disc or metal circle, whatever, right? And they don't necessarily have it categorized how people search for things. So just kind of a trick there. And it was cheap. It was $60 or something like that. So like I said, it was with the original box and in pretty good condition. I'm pretty happy with that find. And I got some plans to try my hand at a particular class of gauge making that would be of probably good video interest. Let's just put it that way. I'm going to leave it at that. So, and I will be doing a lapping demo at the bash coming up, and I was playing around, and these are just socket head cap screws here, and so I did a little lapping on the heads of these, right? Like so, and so these have qualities that make the lapping go easily. Is that the right word I want to use? I don't know. What you want is you want something that's a little bit hard, so that it doesn't actually charge with the diamond. What you want is your lapping plate to, not this, but something like this, to charge with the diamond while you're doing your lapping, so that it fixes the diamond and then acts like sandpaper, literally, right? But it's subtly different than sandpaper. So anyway, I'll be doing a demo, and these are actually pretty good because they're a little bit hard, about Rockwell C40 maybe, something like that. So they'll take a good finish, and here's a ball bearing that I was experimenting. I wanted to find a simple material that people could work with to practice their lapping with, and this seems to be pretty good. And here's some larger versions that I started fiddling around with. So, but anyway, there's a ball that I ground off and then lapped. So that's a little harder to do, a little more work to get to that. This is pretty straightforward. Anyway, if you want to try lapping, try it on something like that to start with. All right, this next one. So this is a Craigslist find here, and the story goes, a good friend of mine, Don from Hill Tech Construction out in the San Joaquin Valley. I've known him for, I don't know, 30 plus years, and we used to ride motorcycles together, dirt bike ride and street bike ride, all kinds of stuff. We're still in regular touch. Anyway, he built a shop down in Newman, California, actually. A big steel shop, poured the slab, did the whole 9 yards, and right on his own property. And he was talking, he said, yeah, I'd really like to have a big honking vise, to kind of have out in the middle of the shop, right? And I said, okay. I said, all right, I got it in my memory bank. I'll sniff around for one for you. And now, when you do something like that, there's no particular timing attached to that. So to me, the planets have to align, and you find one, and it's the right price, and it's the right model, and all that. Well, anyway, when I said I would look for one, that's probably 2 years ago, something like that. So one finally came up locally, pretty close to me here, and so I popped over there, and the guy still had it. So I popped over and then went and had a look, and anyway, obviously I bought it. So what we have is a 6-inch machinist Wilton machinist vise, okay? And this one has a swivel base here, so it can move around like this. And the guy painted it this green. In fact, I can still smell the wet paint. I can't quite tell what color it used to be, not sure. So I went and looked at it, and it's not all beat up. The anvil's got a little bit of pecker marks in it there. But the more important thing is when you run the column out, right, you look at this surface up here, and if this is all chowdered up, it's seen a hard life. So I pulled it all the way out and I looked at the key. This one's 1951 is the date on it, and I don't remember the month, but Wilton stamps, there's a little key under here, and they stamp the date on the key, and I think it's either 1 day behind, or 1 year behind, or 1 year ahead. I can't remember now how they do it. Excuse me. So this is 10 years older than me. I was born in 61, and it's actually in pretty nice shape. And he took it apart and greased it, so he said, and so my friend Don now has a pretty nice vise for his shop. So Don, if you're watching this video, you better get your ass up, or your butt up here pretty quick, because I'm starting to take a liking to this thing here. Actually, this is the biggest bench vise in the shop right now, and personally, I prefer a 4-inch. You know, it's not how it's not the size of your vise, it's how you use it, right? So Don, come get your Wilton, and we'll hang out and okay. So what comes from eBay and comes in a pumpkin orange box? Well, I'll tell you what comes in there. This is a called a Dura lapper. It's a small seal lapping machine that was marketed by this company called Dura Metallic in Kalamazoo, Michigan, made in the U.S. It's pretty cool. It's a little portable seal conditioning lapping machine. So let me get it set up, and I'll show you how it works and some of the cool features about it, and we'll actually look at something that's been lapped with it. Okay. All right. So this is it's a cute little unit, and I don't know, I'm sorry, but I kind of fell in love with it when I saw it, and said, well, gee, I convinced myself, it wasn't very hard. That's a cute little lapping unit. I'm doing a lot of lapping. I should have that. So that's about all it took. Anyway, it was one of the buy it nows, but you can make an offer too. So I made the guy an offer, something I was willing to pay, and then we negotiated a little bit, and I ended up getting it. But it's kind of cool. So it has a removable laps, okay, and clever guys could probably figure out how to make their own laps, and with that interface, and do whatever they want to do. This happens to have both the original laps. Now these are kind of interesting. These are aluminum that have been charged with diamond. This is 25 micron here, and this coarse one's, yeah, it's not in real great shape. This is a finer one. I think it's 6 micron, something like that. That one's in a lot better shape. It works pretty good. Now these have a spiral groove pattern, okay, and I've shown laps that have the checkerboarding, okay, and really the grooves are about helping break the hydrodynamic wedge and making sure that your piece is in good contact with the lap. Now this is a little bit different here in that this lap actually rotates while you're lapping, and I'll show you that here. And you can see it's not going very fast there. So how fast is that? Let's see here. Let's put a little mark on there. 1,000, 2,000. So it's, you know, 60 RPM, something like that, is my guess at this point. Anyway, it's just got a little clock motor in there or something. It's just a little tiny motor, and you wet this, and then you actually hold your piece. You hold your piece on here, and you lap, right? You move it about. Anyway, and a lap. It's really for like mechanical face seals is what it was designed for. Now, some of the cooler parts of this, okay, so fine, you got a lap and you got a motor, okay. Well, you see there's 3 switches here because it's got 3 different cool things that it does, right? So the other thing is built into the lid up here, and yeah, okay, you can see that on the video. There's a monochromatic light built into this. So right on board, it has a monochromatic light built into it. So what we can do is when you lap something, you can use an optical flat, and then we can, well, let's see. I don't know if I'm quite prepared here, but yeah, okay. It's got I can see fringes here. I'll bring you in closer so you guys can see that too. But so you can do some lapping, do a little cleaning, and then you can actually quantitatively check a surface that you're working on. So it's got that built into it. Then the other thing, I kind of really like this part here. This is cool, and it's just silly, right? It's got this other little kind of funny light here, right? That's built into it too, so you can kind of see what you're doing, right? It's just a nice touch, I think. So they built this kind of self-contained compact unit, and now I don't think these are made anymore, and they're certainly not supported anymore. So beware, buyer beware. You can't get, to my knowledge, you can't get laps for these anymore. These guys here, Dura Metallic and Kalamazoo, has since been bought up by somebody else that's probably not interested in reconditioning seal faces. They're interested in selling you more. I tried calling them and to see if you could get these reconditioned, because it mentions that in the instructions here. And there's some fringe patterns and stuff that you can look at. It mentions getting these discs reconditioned, but I got no answer from them. So and it's Flowserve or somebody like that. Anyway, their engineering customer service leaves a little to be desired. Let's just say that. I didn't get a call back at all. So which I thought was not cool. But anyway. So, like I said, clever guys could make their own laps, and you could use a cast iron lap or a copper lap, like I've shown in the past, and just have it rotate too, and you'd kind of get similar effects. Now, this one has a trough around the outside, so all the crud, you know, kind of works its way out the spiral groove and ends up in this trough, and then you can wash it up and clean it and stuff. But it's kind of neat in that it's a compact rig. So we'll turn the light back on, and then I'll try to get a shot, and we can look at some fringes on something. All right, there's some fringes for you. So like I said, that's just one of these socket-head cap screws that I lapped just as a potential practice item. And then here's let's wipe this off. See if we can get some on this here. This is Mr. Ball Bearing here. Let's see what we got there. Yeah, that's good. Can you see those? Yeah, there you go. Okay. Can't see them. Anyway, so the monochromatic light is a known wavelength, so what you can do is translate the bow of those dark fringes into differences in flatness. So that's the general idea of a monochromatic light and an optical flat. So there's your homework assignment if you want to learn more about that kind of stuff. So interferometry. So okay, cool. All right, this next pile here, this is a result of a little horse trading with a gentleman named Matt in Texarkana, Texas, and he traded some stuff at his end, and he asked if I had a particular item, and which I did, and so anyway, we did a little trading. So I ended up with a couple of interesting pieces here. This is the one I really want to talk about here, but let's just take a quick look at these others. This is a set of Starrett 1-2-3 blocks, and I don't have a set of Starretts. I have some other different styles, but Starrett 1-2-3 blocks. These are I guess their inspection grade ones. They're the only ones that actually lap their 1-2-3 blocks. So that's the one unique characteristic of the Starretts. Once again, they have a pattern of holes in here that is not particularly useful. You have to run all thread through them and do some gyrations to connect them together into some meaningful pattern. But anyway, they're pretty nice. They had some little corrosion spots on them. I kind of cleaned them up a little bit and lubricated them, and they're wonderful. So thank you very much, Matt. That's kind of nice. So that's that. Let's set that aside. The next one is a I didn't even know this was even going to show up, but he sent this along too. And this is a Mahr indicator, and this is it has the Abramson movement in it, like the Johansson ones. And this is an English one in intense. Now I have another one here that's another subject of discussion here. We'll talk about this in a sec here. This one's 1 micron here, and it's on a snap gauge here, a floating snap gauge. So we'll talk about that one in a sec. But these are really nice indicators in that mechanically they're very, I want to say quiet is the word I want to use. So they don't pick up a lot of, they're not as sensitive to weird patterns and things that are on the material. They're kind of steady and nice, and they have a very crisp movement. So if you're looking, so there's several flavors of these made by Mahr, and trying to think who the other guys are. Well, Johansson does. Anyway, there's Compromess, Millimess, and Supramess. So you can get these down to 10 millionths of an inch resolution, which is pretty cool. And mechanically, they work really good. They're actually really nice, and even at that kind of resolution, they're still kind of rock steady. For a mechanical indicator, that's impressive. So Matt, once again, thank you very much. That'll come in handy. This one needs a little rebuild here. This is one I bought off eBay. Oh, by the way, these have 8mm shanks on them. That's the only oddball part of them. So, but that's not like a big deal. So let's look at this thing here. This is pretty cool. This is a double scale indicator, and this is pretty old. So let's take a look at this guy here. This kind of neat. This is made by the Ideal Tool Company, and so I'll demonstrate it here. So here's the pointer here at this end here, and there it is. Now, interestingly, this is pretty old. I've seen some Lufkins like this. I think maybe it's a Lufkin. I don't remember now, but some old school mechanical ones. Now, what's interesting is this works in 2 directions. So I can go this way, and I can go this way, and it works the same. So I'm kind of curious what's in there. So I'm thinking we're going to pop the cover off of this and have a look and see what's in there. Now, let's see. Let me take this off here. So it's also dual reading too. It's got a scale on either side, so which is kind of neat too. It's kind of a sheet metal housing. It's very lightweight, and then it's pretty compact too. Anyway, that's pretty old school. Now this is really cool here. So here's the paper that came with it. It's got the original paperwork. So this tells you how old this thing is here. It was $4 or $4.35, one of those when it was sold. And I don't see any date on this particular paper. That was the only bummer, is I don't really have a good date reference on this. And then here's some other stuff that they sold too. Now, what's cool is, oh yeah, look at the price. It's $2.50. And replacement parts, 50 cents, 85 cents, 25 cents, 40 cents, 12 cents? My God, what's 12 cents? 3 cover plate screws for 12 cents. And I bet you some old timers, 12 cents for 3 screws? My God, I could buy 3 loaves of bread for that or something, you know? So let me get some tools, and let's zoom in a little bit closer, and let's pop the lid off of this thing and see what we can see in there. Ooh. Okay, so it's got a little shim there. Watch out. Well, it's kind of snug, whatever is going on there. Let's see here. There you go. Let's see what we got here. Yeah. Wow, that's pretty dog simple there, huh? So, oh, okay, I see how it gets the two. All right, let's do this. Let's put a screw back in it. Find the darn. And let's put the other screw back in it. So we can. See, this is what happens when you have hooves instead of. All right, this thing's slightly magnetized too. Watch out. He's still in the screen here. Yeah. Okay. Let me just set that in there. All right. Oh, okay. So there's a little spring down in there. I didn't see that earlier. Need some smaller tweezers. Okay, so the spring helps return it. There's how, so it pushes on that side. So those two pivots are equidistant from the central pivot. Okay, so in one direction this pushes on that pin, and then in the other direction that arm pushes on it, which is kind of neat. And then that spring, my guess is that spring hooks over the that pin there, and then that keeps it all the way at 0 in kind of the natural position. So this needle here is 2 pieces, and it's split so that it goes around this. Oh, it's pretty cool. So that's pretty like dog simple there. Look at that. So, you know, they're just exploiting the natural ratios from here to here to here to here, and there to there, right, to get the kind of resolution that they want. And so, you know, if you want to make a big one of these, or even a little one, you can laser cut these or something like that. And so pretty simple little mechanism, kind of cool. So this is the ideal indicator, and anyway, pretty fascinating. Anyway, Matt, thank you very much for sending this in. That's kind of a fun little thing to take apart and have a look at the inside and see how it works. All right, this little guy here, this is a adjustable snap gauge that's got some interesting design features that I thought I would share with you. You know, off and on we talk about flexures. Flexure, okay? So it's a flexible membrane, and this is interesting in that the way this works is it's got an indicator here, and it's got this arm underneath, and it doesn't really have a pivot pin. What it has is what we would call a virtual pivot, and what it is let me get a little pointer here. So we have 2 membranes here and another membrane here, flexure, and where they cross is the kind of the virtual pivot. Okay. Now what's interesting is there's no sliding friction. There's no rolling friction or sliding friction or whatever. It's just the flexing of these membranes. And there's the other one on the other side, right? And you can see they're just narrow strips that to interfere with or to take up any of the measuring. Okay, so they're pretty efficient that way. Now this one has an adjustable range here from I think this one goes 25 to 50 millimeters, so about 1 to 2 inches. It's got a center poker outer here that allows you to, it's really for round stuff, so you would set it on a gauge block like this, and then the round would pass in and stop at that point, and that's where you would take your reading. When you're trying to use it kind of freehand with no stop, it's a little dodgy to use. This was sent to me by a person that prefers to remain nameless that's in Sweden, and he sent me some cool stuff over the years, and this is something that showed up. It was missing an indicator, and I had an indicator with an 8mm shank that fits on it, so I stuck that in there. This is 1 micron resolution. Anyway, it's kind of neat. Oh, this is CEJ Johansson from Sweden. Oh yeah, there it is. 1 to 2 inch. Oh, 1 3/8 to 2 inch, 35 to 50 millimeters. I didn't see that before. So anyway, but the point that I'm trying to make here is these flexible membranes here. That's the main design feature that I wanted to point out on this. Kind of neat.
How you doing?
So some of you guys have been asking about old Ernie here. What are you doing? What are you doing? He's getting old and pretty cranky. How you doing? How you doing? He's gonna be 18 in October, aren't you? Aren't you? But he's got the breath of a Komodo dragon, but he's still got a little lust for life, and he's shedding right now, aren't you, bud? And he's kind of getting up there like the rest of us, but he's still hanging in there. Anyway, a couple folks asked about him, and they asked about you. The viewers asked about you. What do you think of that, huh? All right, go see Mom. Go see Mom. Go see Mom. Go on. Go see Mom. Go see Mom. Anyway, some of you guys asked about him. He's still kicking and hanging in there. So that's about it for this Meatloaf, guys, and I hope you liked it. So don't forget, if you want to see some of your favorite YouTube creators, come check out the Summer Bash, Saturday, June 23rd, 2018, down in Rancho Cucamonga, California. There's still spots. Check out the description for some additional information, and talk to Big Stan down there, and he'll get you hooked up. So there's some tours, standard Granite, PTC instruments, and a couple other things. So some special events too for some of the viewers. So anyway, good talking to you. We'll see you again.